Good morning. Good morning, sisters. Shanti.
Shanti, good morning, brother.
Good morning, Lynette Ben. How are you?
Beautiful, thank you.
Great to see you. Good morning, Judy Ben. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine, thank you.
Good to see you.
I'm doing well.
Good to see you.
Always have a question.
Yeah, sure. We will get into that for sure. Your questions are appreciated. You speak on behalf of many others, I think. Shayla Ben, good morning to you. How are you?
Shanti, I'm well, thank you. How are you? And yeah, it's been interesting Murlis recently, so loving the Murlis now, with regards to like writing letters and things like that. So I just wanted to.
We can chat more about that today for sure. Yeah, great to have you here. Indrani Ben, good morning to you. Shanti, thanks for joining.
Shanti, brother. Good morning.
Good morning. Which part of Canada are you in?
Toronto.
Great. I might be visiting your area next year, so I'll definitely keep you in mind for a work trip.
Sure.
Great to have you here. Sujata Ben, good morning to you. Shanti. Okay, sure. Thanks for your chat message, Sujata Ben. Hope you're well. Mala Ben, good morning to you. Shanti.
Good morning, Shanti. How are you?
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for being here. So, sisters, I'm going to focus later on the topic of the chit and the subconscious mind, and we're going to hear a section of a morally where Baba takes us into more detail on this. But before we get into that topic, please, any of you are welcome to ask questions or share any thoughts you have.
Shanti, I have a question, and I know Sister Indrani was going to explain it to me, and I didn't get a chance to talk to her. But in one of the Murlis, Baba calls himself a child. And I tried to go back and find it, but I couldn't. Why did Baba call himself a child?
So, Indrani Ben, would you like to come in and give your explanation now?
So I believe Baba refers to child and master on a regular basis, and master is when we speak with that authority. But child is when you have to follow. For example, if we all in this group want to do a project and I give my opinion of what should be done, but at the end of it, we decide on something else, not on what I wanted, then I have to give my support 100% cooperation and be like a child and follow. So in Brahma Baba, he followed Shiv Baba totally like a child. And he also spoke when he needed to, and he gave his views in the form of the master and as an authority. So we need to practice on a daily basis, being both child and master on a regular basis as is needed. We can't always be a master. Like if I'm a school teacher, I can't come home and be a school teacher to my family. So we need to switch our roles around as needed. That's my understanding.
So that's definitely one of the aspects there. Thank you. That was really nicely explained. Good morning to you, Ambika Ben. Great that you could be here as well. The question just here was, why does Shiv Baba refer to himself as a child as well? So would anyone like to come in and offer any thoughts on that?
Shanti, as she explained that to me, suddenly I realized that when you're in the classroom, you become a child too. Because for you to connect with the children in your classroom, you have to become a child. You're not able to make that connection unless you're able to understand them and be able to reach them. Many times I had to become a child. Thank you so much. I now understand it.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I hadn't thought about it that way before, actually, Judy Ben, so that's a nice, another way of looking at it. Ambika Ben, did you want to come in?
So I'm Shanti, everyone. For some reason, my phone couldn't start this morning. So I was getting issues with it. What I understand, Baba, as being a child is that when you're a parent and you have a child, you are protective. And you will give whatever it is you have. You give with so much love to that child. Parents will do that. I'm not a parent physically, but I have nieces and nephews and I can connect on that level. So that when you make Shiv Baba your child, for me is that whatever it is I have is Baba's, because it comes like Baba now is getting my inheritance. So that I become in that role as a trustee. Nothing is mine, it is Shiv Baba's own. So that's my take on it, that everything belongs, I am given to that child, because your heart is involved now in that relationship even deeper. You're protective, you might become the attachment and all that. So I think I shared this once, that I was in Madhuban and I was having some issues with attachment. And when I went to Madhuban, that is what I was working on. And then when we were leaving, Daddy Prakashmani was ill and she was not meeting groups. And for some reason, when we were ready to leave, they told us Daddy will meet us. So we went down the hill. And they said they don't know if Daddy will speak with us because she doesn't say much, but they will see whether or not she will give drishti. And then most of the time, her eyes used to be closed. So they brought Daddy into the room, and as soon as they brought her, it might have been about 10 or 12, some from Trinidad. I don't know where the others were from. There was about 3 of us from Trinidad. And Daddy's eyes opened, and Daddy started to speak. And the first thing Daddy started to speak was on attachment. So, and then she was saying, make Baba your child and become attached to Baba. When you become attached to Baba, attachment falls off in the other areas. So it's not that you have to work on attachment and I need to be detached, because it becomes hard. But when you attach yourself to Baba, the others go. So the relationship of a parent and a child, that attachment is there. So you become trustee. Everything belongs to Baba. Baba gets the inheritance from me. So nothing belongs to me. It's handed down. That's my take on it. I'm Shanti.
Thank you. Nicely, clearly explained. Would anyone else like to offer their explanations or ideas?
Shanti. What the other sisters said, they're all really well. They're really well put, and I understand them. But I look at it in this way also. As a child, Baba says the inheritance of the parent goes to the child. Everything that the parent has goes to the child. The child inherits everything. And Baba is saying, give all your rubbish to me. That's what you have. Give every burden that you have to me. And as you look at Baba as a child, he takes that from you. That's the inheritance that he takes. As the father, he gives you all his blessing. He gives you all his power, all his virtues, everything. But the way that we could give to Baba the rubbish that we have is as an inheritance, like you give up everything that you have to him. And I think that's another aspect of having Baba as a child, and treating him with all that love that you will give as a parent, and give up everything to him, just as Ambika Ben said. Shanti.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way, actually, but it's true that no elder wants to depend on younger people in the family, but sometimes that is what happens. And the elder might be ill, they might have accumulated some debts, some problems, some addictions, and you find that the child has to become the parent. So, that's very true. So that was nicely put as well. Thanks for explaining that.
If I may add something,
Yeah, please. Yeah, please. Yeah.
I think Baba also said in some Murrays, not that I think, I know you've said it many times, that how make him your child. And my take on that is that you may have, say, for example, 2 kids, or none, as Sister Ambika said. If you have children, you see about them on a worldly sense, you take care of their physical need, their education, etc. If you make Baba your 3rd child, not that you feed him and you clothe him, but the same way you're looking after your physical child by feeding them, clothing them, sending them to school, you put aside a little bit of that also for the 3rd child, which is Baba, and you give that to Baba's service. Om Shanti.
Yes, thank you. I think that's right as well. It reminded me of Sister Sudesh used to say that when they went to Madhuban in the 1960s and took Brahmins from their center, Baba used to ask the mothers, how many children have you got? And if they replied with the number of children they actually have, he would fail them, because you had to add in Shiv Baba into your count. And for some years, they would look really puzzled. Like no, Baba, I really do only have 2 children. And no, Baba would say, oh, really? And so you haven't made Shiv Baba your 3rd child? So absolutely. Would anyone else like to offer any ideas on this topic? Okay, so I'll add in some ideas too. I agree with everything everyone said, and I thought a couple of things there that I hadn't thought about before. And when Sister Sudesh used to explain this in the London Center, she used to talk about it as the yagyas, as Baba the child. So we had that point this week in the Murlis, where Baba said that you are protectors of the yagya. So a parent is a protector. And we've got Shiva, the spiritual, the unseen, the incorporeal. But he's been explaining to us this week, and again today in the Morally, I'll get the recordings over to all of you later for today, that, that Shiva, for creation, has to combine with the temporal, with the material. Yeah, so this has been one of his narratives this week, that he cannot just create the golden age, he cannot create heaven from the incorporeal. For creation to happen, there must also be a mother. And throughout history, the goddesses have been really connected with creation. You know, it's the power of that female energy that's needed for creation. So Baba's been saying to us that that first connection is with the soul of Brahma, because even though that's a male body, the soul is actually the mother of all of the Brahmin clan. And so you've got this connection happening there. Shiv Baba coming into the body of Brahma, the spiritual combining with the temporal. And Shiv Baba bringing with him the treasures of knowledge, the treasures of the powers, the treasures of the virtues. But the mother soul bringing with him physical treasures, physical wealth, physical time, physical energy. And so Shiv Baba said to Brahma Baba, you got to surrender. You've got to surrender. And it's the act of surrender to the sisters as well. So again, it's connecting back with that creation energy. And so I think we could look at the yagya as like Shiv Baba in this world. You know, it's like a temporal manifestation. There was something that came up in the Bhog message for Mama's Day this year that I hadn't known before. It was very, very insightful from Baba. And he was saying that it's interesting now, isn't it, that Brahmins who have never met Mama, and if you think there are about 1 million BK regular students, and you could probably count on your hands and toes how many met Mama. You know, they're not that many. But you ask how many Brahmins have got a relationship with Mama. a closeness with them. And you'll be struggling to find some who don't. You know, it's amazing, isn't it? That the physical meeting was not that important for the relationship. And Baba said that because Mama filled her energy into the yagya at the start, as the tree of the yagya grows, it's still the vibration of Mama and Baba that flows through every center anyway. So it's still the same tree. So Mama put it into the sapling. Now that tree has grown, so you could have a center opening up in another part of the world. And you will go into that Baba's room and you will feel close to Baba. Because Baba and Mama have filled the energy into this sapling, into this tree. So I think we can see the yagya as like this manifestation of Shiv Baba, our three parent souls. Their energy comes into this yagya. And so Baba says, be the protector of this yagya. You be the parent there in that relationship. Keep it going for the future decades. And then what Ambika Ben was sharing reminded me of how the relationship with Baba changes as we become more equal. So Dedi Prakashmani was someone who Baba trusted implicitly right from the beginning. Didi Manmohini was the very first BK to surrender into this institution. And then Dedi Prakashmani was the very first. So Didi was a mother. She was about 28 years old, so an older lady. But Dedi Prakashmani was the first girl to come in. She was 15 years old. And her father was an astrologer. And when he had made her birth chart, it had showed that she was going to become a nun. There's a very famous devotee in India called Meera. And Meera famously was a queen who lived a celibate life. She lived like a nun to worship Krishna. And so he saw in her birth chart that she was going to be like Meera. So when she said to him that I want to surrender into this, I want to do this, he was not surprised. He said, yeah, I've already seen that that's what you're going to do. That's your future. So she was one of the few that didn't have any obstacles at all. She had cooperation. And she started off, of course, being obedient. She was young. What did she know? But she was then part of that. Dedi Chandramani came at that time. Dedi Chandramani's entire family became a BK actually together. So you had this development of a group of senior daddies at that time, and they were really the ones. Then Mama came a couple of months later. So you got this development. And as the sisters began coming into the yagya, you had Baba, they organized themselves into different groups for different projects. And this group of seniors, they were known as the Divine Unity Group. So it was Mama, Dedi Prakashmani, Didi Manmohini, Dedi Chandramani, Dedi Shantamani. There's about five or six of them, maybe. And maybe a few more. And then they were really the ones shaping how the yagya would be. Like they decided about the white clothes, the routine, karma yoga. This was the group that did all of that. They shaped things. Baba sort of left them to decide what's best for them in many of those things. And then you look at when it came to shifting over to India, again, this group is very central. So you got that shaping how things were for 13, 14 years in Karachi. Then moving across, it was Didi Manmohini who chose Mount Abu. as the place to shift. Baba sent Didi Manmohini and Dada Vishwa Kishore to go and choose. So then they shift across. And then when Mama left, when Mama became an angel in 1965, Didi Manmohini assumed a lot of her responsibilities and really coordinated all the centers. And when Baba left in 69, he handed over to Daddy Prakashmani. And he began to use this term, or Shiv Baba began to use this term in the Muralis after that, of the 18th of January being a very significant day, because it's when the father wills the powers to the children. And so when you've got this handing over, like if you look, the yagya begins with Brahma's first surrender. And he's spent his life building a family, building a business, building a reputation. And Shiv Baba says, right, hand it all over, renounce. And he does it. Then the last surrender, Shiv Baba saying, you built the yagya, hand it over. You come up to the subtle region now. Now it's time for the daughters of Brahma to show their leadership. And Shiv Baba is saying that if Brahma was still there, everyone's focus would be still on that male, still on that guru type of figure. But now no one really thinks that much about Brahma. It's all about the sisters, really. So this handing over where it's time to step up. And so the children are becoming more and more equal. And then as the daddies become more equal in their stage over the years, Baba really deferring to them more and more, that these are the souls who are, particularly these souls are in the 8 jewels. And there's one morally where Baba's talking about the tribunal in the land of Dharamraj. So when we meet our supreme accountant, says there's a tribunal and you've got to all settle up whatever's left before going to the soul world. And he says that this tribunal is made of these 8 jewels. And Lady Gulzar used to talk to Baba a lot about this when she was going into trance, because she was keen to be on that tribunal. She didn't want to face that. So Baba had actually shown her the composition of this tribunal and assured her that she would be on that. And she'd seen like Daddy Janki on that as well. And what Baba says in that morally is very intriguing, because he says that it will be this tribunal that will decide. So Shiv Baba was implying that even on Judgment Day, he's also going to trust these souls and their judgment as part of that. And so it's not just a case of facing Baba, but it's also facing these souls, these children who have become like the father. So even the father respects their seniority. And so I think there's something in that there of Baba becoming the child. Quite often when how the process used to be of Baba's dates for coming into Dadi Gulzar, it used to be this big process of negotiation. I don't know if you're all aware of how Baba used to come about 10 times in the season, and how those dates, have you heard, are you familiar with that, or shall I share how that whole process used to happen? Yeah. So it used to be a whole process of negotiation with Baba. So of course, if you ask the children, how often should Baba come? The children are going to say, well, how about every day? And so Daddy Prakashmani's starting point was usually about every week. So she used to say to Daddy Gulzar, ask Baba if he'll come 50 times a week. So that was her bargaining position to start off. And then Daddy would go and ask Baba, and Baba would come back with 3 dates. How come 3 times? So then Daddy Prakashmani would send Daddy Gulzar back with, how about 30 times? And Baba would come back with 5. And this process went on until it became 10 times. So there was this loving game, this play. Baba is the child as well. And the children have to be the child because Baba doesn't do everything we want him to do. So there was like this demonstration that, no, I'm not going to do everything you, because you are children and I am the father. But I am also obedient to you in something. So I will do a bit more, maybe, than I think I should sometimes, in order to also respect you as the masters. And so I think there's this relationship dynamic. And there's a few times where Baba sort of came unexpectedly because there was some sort of special occasion. I remember Brother Charlie sharing a while back that he was in Madhuban once in the meditation hall, and Daddy Prakashmani had called a retreat for all of the daddies from around India. So this would have been about 1983 or something like that, 84. So still most of the daddies were still around. And so you can imagine how beautiful that gathering was. And to have them all gathered in the meditation hall. So Daddy Prakashani was reading the Murali. And she just had the thought. So Daddy Gulzar was hearing the Murali sitting on the floor, cross-legged, if you can imagine those days. And he was saying that she just had the thought at the end of the Murali that Baba must come and meet everyone. So she just said to Daddy Gulzar, come on the Gadi and go up to Baba and tell him to come. He's got to come and meet. You've got to see everyone. Look at them. They're all amazing. And Baba just came. So there was this relationship, I think, this dynamic. And then if you connect that to what Baba was saying to us yesterday, the Hazur, the Lord, is present all the time. He's ever present. He is Hazir for you children now. So when Baba speaks in Hindi, he uses this terminology that I am the Hazur, I am the Lord, but you are my Hazur. So why I am ever present, usually it's a server that's ever present in front of a Lord. It's not for the server to say I'm busy. Like you can't say to your Lord, no, I'm busy. You have to be ready, ever ready. So the spirit with which Baba is saying this is that you've got your Lord as your servant. So Hazur, Hazir means I am ready to serve. You just tell me what you need. I'm here. So this is the spirit behind that. That, okay, I am the Father, but you are my Lord. So I am here. I am your Lord, you are my Lord. I'm here, I'm present. So I think it's all part of this, what Baba's been conveying to us this week, this relationship. That Raj Yoga is not a technique. It's not sit and concentrate on a candle. It's not a technique. So Baba is very insistent that it's not like the yoga of the sannyasis, where you might remember the great light and you concentrate on like a non-conscious light. It's like just a wide light. But Baba is saying that's your home. But I'm a conscient being. I have a mind and intellect. This is a relationship. And you now have to develop that relationship. And so I think Baba the child is exploring that dynamic as well, as to how we relate to him. And then I've shared this with you before, the Brother Ramlochan, who looks after the kitchen department in Shantivan. He used to also live in Panda Bhavan before then. And in the days when Baba would meet people personally, he came to knowledge, I think, in about 1972, something like that. And this would have been early 80s. So he asked Baba, how come you don't help me as much as you used to? He said it very loving. He's a very sweet soul, so he would have said it very sweet and lovingly. But that's quite a question to ask God. How come you don't help me as much? So Baba smiled and said that when a child is small, it looks good when they sit in your lap. But as the child grows, it doesn't look good. That child has to walk on their own feet. And so as you grow on this path, you can't stay as little children. You got to assume more and more self-mastery. Yeah. And so there's this changing dynamic between us and Baba as well. That more and more Baba is expecting us to become the leaders. Remember, he doesn't come with us into the golden and silver age. So he is expecting us to become empowered. So it's like he's becoming the child to let us assume more responsibility to become leaders. He's not going to rule over us. You see, he doesn't rule over people. He's an empowerer, not like an authority seeker. So Daddy Janki used to describe two experiences that used to help her in that process of growth and leadership. That when Baba was a big walker. That was his main form of exercise. He used to walk in Karachi, he used to walk in Mumbai, and in Mount Abu, he used to like also doing some hill walking as well. And when you're hill walking, it's a bit tricky. And you see, a lot of the Indian culture, they don't have the proper shoes either. So they walk in their sandals everywhere up the hills. So everyone wanted to go and walk with Baba, but it becomes a bit tricky. You've got to keep up with him, and you've also got to look after yourself. So sometimes when the daddies were walking, Baba would say, okay, I'll stay at the back of the group, and I'll keep an eye. And sometimes Baba would be at the front, leading the way. And she said that as time went on, she would just remember those memories, that sometimes Baba's in front of us. He's showing us the way. He's leading the way. But at other times, it's as if Baba's at the back. He's the shepherd. He's watching the flock. But it's we that have to make our way. He's just watching out that there's nothing coming that's going to distress us. So I think it's a very interesting dynamic of master and child, and that's all part of this Raj Yoga process. Would anyone like to come in?
Thank you for that sharing, Baba, because, as you were speaking, for me, it was like a feeling of developing this love that I have for God that becomes even deeper. And I have always found that, and I always believe that God is there with me. I always believe, even before I recognized in Baba, I always felt that. It only reinforced my thinking when I came into knowledge. And very much within recent times, I have felt that Baba is always there to protect. And as you say, he leads and he also is at the back like a shepherd. And because our path is on this, we are on this path that we have to continue. Baba will always be there with us, and it's just keeping in tune with him. So that, yes, and getting back to that of a child, is that really, in my Brahmin life, I always felt, and I've said it before, it's important where defamation is concerned. I keep that at the back of my mind. And in a way, it is really protecting the yagya from any defamation, but also, as Johnny Ben was also sharing, you know, we give as a third child. And this is how, I always say that there are two things in Raj Yoga. There is God and there is the yagya. They're two separate things. They combine, yes, but two separate. And the yagya needs us, because Baba needs us to do the work, and we do it through the yagya. So that we give to the yagya, and as you put it, as a child, you know, that is an interesting, I didn't look at it like that, but the yagya as a child, I always saw it as protecting the yagya. And really, as we grow in this part, and more I'm seeing within the world, the way things are, is that how important it is to make Baba our child. Be part of this yagya where your heart is involved. And it should never be forced, but understanding, yes, we rule, but being able to develop always this relationship with Baba, that I'm not doing it for Baba, I'm not doing it for me, I'm doing it in God's task, yes, but it's our task. It is for us that Baba is recreating this new world, to take us out of this Kali Yuga age, so that, you know, it is always really a relationship of feelings, deep feelings, that this being a child, Baba being my child, is really something I feel, I know, but I also need to, that awareness. I always talk about developing awareness, but really is awareness in different relationships. And being a child is really, Baba being my child is that you give all, you give your all to Baba. And what that means is you give in Baba's yagya, whether it's through your mind, through your wealth, through your body, you know, is to be able to really give. And the protection comes back. Protection, like in today's Murli also, Baba was saying, you know, whereas there's illnesses of the body, not that you do it with that intention, but automatically when there's illnesses, when you stay with Baba, you make Baba your father, your friend, whatever. Even your pain goes. And that's what we see as the examples, the daddies. So Daddy Janki always used to say, as you always know, Baba is a child. And Baba kept her at that age doing service, continue to do service till the end. So for me, it is really, that's why these mornings, Saturday mornings, is important to me, because it really reminds me, reinforces me, and it propels me to make the effort that I should be making. Om Shanti.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think that those are good points, and it also just made me think again. I'll put it in the recording today, but it's like understanding how different actions, different contributions give us different types of strength. So like Baba is talking to us today about dealing with illnesses, and part of Baba helping us to grow up is he doesn't give us too much sympathy. So someone's obviously said to Baba, you know, I'm too ill, I can't remember Baba, I can't make up for it. Morally, it would be something like that. And Baba's having none of it. He was about 90 years old when he spoke this morally. And, you know, you've got younger people than him probably saying to him that I'm too ill to do this and that. And Baba's saying, well, you know, you've got the power of yoga. If you think that Mama was 39 when she was diagnosed with cancer, and you see the lesson in all of this is develop your power of yoga when you can. when you're not well, when you're not ill. That's when you got to develop your power of yoga, because when the paper comes, and that's maturity, isn't it? It's about savings. If you've got savings in the bank, you're resilient when the challenges come. So similarly with this, and there's one morally where it came as one of the video moralies from the London Centre a few weeks ago, where Baba was commenting how the daddies got a lot of strength from the service they did. You know, that we hear this in these moralies from the 1960s, don't we? That Baba's not letting them rest. He's saying, right, you got to go and do this. How are you doing this? How are you going? He's constant, isn't he? Constantly motivating them. So then when they got older, what did they have an accumulation of? They had a huge stock of blessings, of strength. And Baba's not getting us to do these things because it benefits him. It doesn't make any difference to him. He stays God whether we do it or not. It doesn't make no difference to him. So the yagya is this interesting creation. It's always for us. It's a fortune creation factory, but it's also like, it's almost like a gym, like a gym as well for fitness, because it's like the more you're using, like gyms are interesting places, aren't they? Because you're actually producing nothing and gaining something, if that makes sense. Like you run on a treadmill, you went nowhere. And you come out of there and you think, well, I achieved so much, but you didn't go anywhere. You sit on a cycle, you're going nowhere. So I always think that gyms are interesting places. Now, hopefully some better planned gyms, they sort of can recharge batteries or something through that energy. And so you can actually produce something if you think about it properly. But most gyms don't do that. And yet you feel like you're achieving something. And sometimes I feel service is that you sometimes are doing the service and no one is listening, no one is coming. Like, you haven't actually got any results, actually, but it exercises you. You got the chance to share something, use your body, mind, well. The result is always Baba's anyway. He will give birth to Brahmins when it's their time. It's not really anything to do with us. But it keeps us occupied. So you get strength through the exercise, through using your specialities, using your virtues, using your body, mind, and mind. So he was saying the daddies, they got that strength from that service that they did. And it kicks in when you need it, you see? So I think that's all part of Baba being the child, to let us stretch, to let us grow, to let us face challenges. You just can't sit examinations for students. They've got to do it. They've got to do their own project work. They've got to, you cannot learn if someone else does it for you. You must be the one who is stretching yourself, and learning through production, learning through doing is a very, very important part of learning. So Baba has to become the child. He has to allow us to make our own mistakes as well and learn. And his attitude is always, what have you learned? Move forward. What have you learned? Just keep moving forward. You're becoming experienced. Just keep moving forward. But don't make excuses. Don't be careless. See, those are the things that he objects to. But he doesn't mind us growing and learning, and finding our own feet. He doesn't try and control every part of what we do. He allows us to be our own masters, and he says, develop your self-mastery and be aware that you can't fully trust yourself. That's the thing. Like in today's morality, Maya can come as a ghost. Maya can come as a storm. Maya can come to wrestle you. Maya's got these very many forms. Sometimes Maya's very subtle, like a mouse. And sometimes Maya's very obvious, like a lion. You can't you can't trust yourself. That's the thing, because you're a mixed entity. You've got an alloy inside of you. So in that sense, Baba is the only one we can fully trust because he has no alloy. But he's still allowing us to become our own masters. Yeah, great topic. See, Judy Ben, your questions are always appreciated because you actually speak on behalf of many others, even if they don't realize they have the question. They appreciate that you asked the question that they didn't know they needed an answer to. So I think that, as Ambika Ben's saying, that you see, dialogue, chit chat, actually brings out a lot. I always think that thinking helps you think. Oh, this is all part of that, and thinking in a collective is better sometimes than thinking individually. So,
Shanti and Baba did say that we should chat among
chat,
ourselves
yeah.
to understand. But Baba's Murli today comes full circle because, like Ambika was saying too, Baba is telling us to become soul conscious. We could be ill, but one thing Baba is really stressing as the time is coming close and the world is coming to an end, Baba is telling us to become nightingales of knowledge and sweetly chirp, that word chirp knowledge to everyone, to revive them from the grave. So Baba is really making this giving service is very important. And I think what I have to understand much more is the introduction to Baba. I have to understand that much better. I want to learn how to do that because I'm a bit faltering in that. I have to know when to put a full stop. I know that I have to know when to put a full stop when I try to talk to people about Baba. And so I pretty much know if I try to talk to people and I get to a point that I have to stay silent and then work, with the power of silence. So it comes full circle because he wants us to be body conscious. He wants us to forget about our illnesses, and he wants us to become strong so that we could continue giving service to these souls who we are going to wake up from the dead. Om Shanti.
Yes, and explanation is an art rather than a science. I don't think there's one way of doing this. I think that we're just got to feel our way through. And I would speak with your local center teacher about any opportunities, because I think, again, explanation is about learning through doing. I don't think you can just learn theoretically, but as we come into interaction, dialogue, we gain more experience and refine our explanations over time. So, yeah, good. Would anyone else like to share anything on any other topic before we move into the morally?
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
A question that I came up in a recent Murli, a point that came up in a recent Murli, and that struck with me in terms of starting a conversation about what is your relationship with God? That just seems to spark so many different responses, and then Baba takes control as to what happens next. And it's been from, I don't believe in God, to I believe in God, but I don't go to church very often, to I have a good relationship with God, but sometimes I fail. And it just opens up so many opportunities for one to share. And I think a lot of it is just listening to what that other person is saying. And then Baba puts the right words into our mouths to follow up with that.
It's a good reminder. That's good advice, because it's very clear that Baba's view is that we should frame things in questions. And when we teach at university as well, we're encouraging students to think critically, that just passive learning, it doesn't make your brain work in the same way as questioning does. And so Baba created this questionnaire. He called it a probe the other day in the Morally, it means the questionnaire. And initially it was 50 questions. And then they put it down to about 10 and then 4. So they came up with 4 questions. Well, Baba himself created 4 questions, which have become the basis of all of the exhibitions in India. What is your relationship with the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul? What is your relationship with Prajapita Brahma? Who is the God of the Gita, Shiv or Sri Krishna? And who is the purifier, the Ganges or the Supreme Father? So it's put, either people are given like a piece of paper to write the answers to these questions at the start of the exhibition, and they're told that over the next 45 minutes, you're going to have these 4 questions explored and you're going to gain the explanation, but we'd like to know your thoughts from the beginning. Now, how many of us would have even thought about these questions before? But I mean, you just don't think about these things at all. So just the fact that you're being given these questions is intriguing, because as you say, we usually ask things like, do you believe in God? But Baba is very specific. His phrasing is very, very precise. What is your relationship with the Supreme Father, the Supreme Soul? So it's not just about believing in God. What's your so that gets us to think immediately deeper. That do I have? And then what is it? How is it? And then it leads to so many other questions. Now, again, Brahma is a big character in Hinduism, but no one thinks, what is your religion? No one thinks about a relationship with Brahma. He's just a character in the mythologies. Then the Gita one is probably the most controversial out of all of them, because it annoys many Hindus that this is being questioned after so many thousands of years of scholarship. But Baba doesn't mind pushing buttons sometimes. He doesn't mind, because even if someone disagrees, they're engaging. They're engaging in the discussion. So his view would be that them giving their point of view allows you to give your point of view. And so he doesn't mind that. Then the 4th one about the purifier, that bathing in holy rivers is a big thing in Hinduism. And so do people do it really with any thought? You sort of just do it. It's like it becomes a tradition. But I think, can this dirty river with dead bodies floating in it and all sorts of sewer water really purify? And so the thing about Bhakti is, well, it's not logical. It's not designed to be logical, really. It's just faith. It's all sorts of leaps of faith within Bhakti. And Baba's trying to reintroduce some logic into this, some thought. So that can be a very good way. And then for your particular cultures, your particular communities, you should think what would be maybe 2 or 3 good questions that could work, and you could then experiment with that. So that's a really good reminder of a technique we could use.
Nice. Even sister from Banaras,
I shared that last week. Yeah. I was sharing with you last week about Surendra Devi, who Baba sent to the holy city of Banaras to start the center there. And that Baba told her, she was about 20 or something like that at the time, and he just told her, go and meet all the saints and just go and share with them some of these points of knowledge. And she went, and the saint just told her, you're a little girl, you have no idea what you're talking about. Which scriptures have you read? How are you qualified to come and talk to me about anything? So then she just went and she wrote back to Baba, you know, as you're hearing in the Murlis, Baba's expecting these letters, so, and this news of service. So she wrote back to Baba, and Baba said, no problem, go back again. Don't worry that he is insulting you. You are going to stay peaceful, smiling, tolerant, because with these saints, it's not going to be knowledge that brings them closer to Shiv Baba. It's going to be your virtues. So it's not about what you're saying. It's about how. But each time you go and he insults you, make sure you're sharing one point of knowledge and it's going in his ear. And so she went back again. She kept going back and kept being sent away more. And then after several times of carrying on, the saint just said, okay, I've understood. You are saint. You are saint. So no matter how much I've insulted you, you've got that tolerance. There must be something here. Come and sit down. And now Baba's Center is like part of that entire network in that holy city. It's considered a very respectable part of that Hindu community setup. Very, very ancient ashrams, they're very ancient temples. But if the Brahma Kumaris hold a program, those saints will be there. They will come. So that's always been Baba's approach. And to remember that we don't matter. If someone insults us while we're sharing knowledge, Baba's attitude would be, well, you got to let go of your ego anyway, so what's the problem? Doesn't matter. All that matters is that you're sharing Shiv Baba's knowledge. It's getting out there. But he doesn't want us doing it with force or with being
debating.
Yeah, we don't want to get too much into patronizing people and being pretentious. There's got to be a certain respect within that as well. Would anyone else like to come in with anything?
I just want to share a little bit of what you're saying there, Anna. Yes, when we want to give the knowledge, Baba often talks about, being an example. Sometimes we don't have to say anything and people recognize there's something. And yesterday there was a retirement function held for me. And it was amazing. Yeah, yeah. Officially, it will be in February, but they did it yesterday. And because I'm on pre-retirement leave. And in the function, one or two people would have wanted to say things. And every one of them was able to say or speak on my spiritual part. I have interacted, and yes, I would say something where the values are concerned. So they know I go to the center, they know with Raj Yoga, and it was heartwarming when the Comptroller of Treasury, in her little words that she was saying, she said, I know that all of you, all of us would have benefited from, because Raj Yoga knowledge in one way or the other, because of how she interacted with the staff. And that was expressed by a few of them. And I have never really preached Raj Yoga to them. I have not done that. But I would invite once or twice they come to the center. There one or two would have in Treasury would have taken the course. But it was at any opportunity that I had in speaking with anybody where work was concerned, I often spoke about their honesty, their integrity, the return of what they do and how they do it, how it comes back with prosperity and abundance. Because my life, I told them, was an example, because the salary within the public service is very small, but your achievement is there and you never want, and that doesn't happen by chance. So was a way on speaking to them during that period where karmas were concerned, not using even the word karma, but the return. So really, yes, we want to impart knowledge. People don't want to hear too much words anymore, but there sometimes one or two words, one or two sentences can give the whole knowledge. And really now it's really imparting to people why it is important to empower themselves, empower themselves for the times to come, right? Because we don't prove anything anymore. And Baba's not would have given us that knowledge how many years ago, but we're seeing it practically in the world, all the upheaval on different levels that are taking place. So it is really, the opportunity is always there to impart knowledge, and to do it in a way of a set Raj Yoga course that we grew up in Baba's knowledge. It's not always necessary, but people will recognize that, yes, there is a difference, and there's probably something that I need to do. I often tell people, why go through a human being anymore? It's important at one point, but now is the time, if you can empower yourself, you have to empower yourself through the goodness that you have, and just tap back into that. And I feel that once people start recognizing that they truly have this innate powers within themselves, automatically their connection with God will come. They will find it will come. Because even this week I had to visit my doctor, and I think I gave him the whole Raj Yoga course, because we were speaking afterwards, and he understood. The only thing when I told him with Brahma Baba, he said, so who named him Brahma? I said, oh, God. Yeah, but who named him Brahma? I said, yes, God. He said, okay then. But he found that the knowledge was interesting, and he's holistic. So, and then he compared the similarity of what they do, of connecting with the divine. They connect with consciousness. That's how he puts it, and when they prescribe whatever medication, it comes through that as well. So there are many ways of bringing people closer to Baba, because in my mind, now is not the time that people are going to become Brahma Kumaras or Kumaris, that you have to follow this Raj Yoga path. There are some who still have to. It is really just making people understand that the innate power is in there, how to empower themselves. Yes, through God, but their goodness. I often tell people the goodness is their protection, because your goodness is your good karma that protects you. Yeah. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Yeah, nicely put. And in fact, section of the Morally we're just about to hear is talking about this service now. What's the service that's needed now? The service through our example. So let me hand over to Ranjan Ben now. We're not going to read the whole Morally because it is quite long. But we began this topic of the Chit after Baba took it up in a Morally, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, and we discussed it last Saturday. And this Morally is the Millennium Morally, so New Year's Eve 1999, and it came back up as a video from the London Centre. So it reminded me, I remembered the points of this Morally, but I hadn't remembered the date. So it was very helpful to see it again in the video and know that this was the date. And I thought, we'll definitely read it in one of these chit chats at some point. And today in the morning Morally, Baba was referring to this example from the Ramayana, where Ram's brother Lakshman is knocked unconscious on the battlefield, and they don't have any power to awaken him. So Hanuman, the great, wise, powerful warrior of the monkey kingdom, he is actually the child of the wind god. So he's able to fly, and he flies to go and get this particular herb that's needed, this life-giving herb, Sanjeevani Buddhi, this herb that reawakens those that have become unconscious in a particular mountain, in a particular place. And he arrives there and he can't remember which herb it was because the mountain is full of herbs and so difficult to identify. So there's a very famous picture in Hinduism of Hanuman picking up the entire mountain and flying it back into the battlefield so the doctor can pick the herb to give to reawaken. So one type of unconsciousness is obviously when we're like physically unconscious, and that's how it's depicted in that story. But another type of unconsciousness is when we don't realize something and we are just not aware, fully aware. And Baba was putting that story and connecting it with the imagery of the Quran, where there's this term of everyone being in the graveyard, Qabristan. So in the Abrahamic faiths, they tend to bury the dead because the Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, they have this story running through the Bible that God lifts people out of the coffins, out of the graves on Judgment Day. And of course, the story of Christ has that sort of this concept of resurrection. So this is what Baba's connecting today, this story of the Ramayana, where Lakshman is made unconscious, with this imagery of resurrection from the grave, a judgment time. And Baba is saying this is the end time. And the Chit is the graveyard. You know, our intellects are buried in the past. You meet most people in the world, they're so burdened by their past memories, past regrets, past guilt, past sorrows. Some of that can be even like they're even unconscious of that. They can be so unconscious, they're unconscious even of their unconsciousness. You know? So it can be such a drag on a soul. And most people are just finding coping mechanisms, really. It's not really dealing or healing, because there's nothing that works really in the world. The world offers coping mechanisms, temporary alleviation, but no permanent solution to these deep-seated illnesses, ailments, sorrows. And so over the births, as we've gone through the copper and then the iron age, our intellect becomes more and more buried because this burden is increasing. So if we think about it, if we've taken 63 births, then our subconscious mind is a graveyard, isn't it? Because your subconsciousness contains all of those memories, all of the trauma, all of the sorrows, all of the mixed experiences you've had. So when Baba's saying, awaken from the graveyard, my take on it is he's talking about wake up from your subconscious. You're not really awake as a human being in the Iron Age. So burdened you are. And this is why success is really for the newer souls who've come down from the soul world, because they don't have a subconsciousness. If it's their first birth. So why they're successful is they haven't got that burden. Whereas the older souls are very burdened at this time. And so you can't really live properly. Many people, after they've had a significant trauma, they'll say, it's as if my life stopped at that point. My life ended when this event occurred. And usually that's connected with some death of some sort, or some sort of tragedy. Could be paralysis or some sort of thing. So it's a graveyard, isn't it? So Baba's saying this world is a graveyard, isn't it? And Baba is the one who gives us hope. He wakes us up again. He says, become conscious again. Wake up. Step out Let me resurrect you. I'm adopting you. And now it's your first birth of the 21 of the new cycle. So you have 8 births in the golden age. You have 12 births in the silver age. So that's only 20. So now this is your final body, but your first birth of the new cycle. So he is resurrecting us from identifying with the last birth of the last cycle and being buried in that to becoming new again. So when a soul is moving closer to their karmatit stage, like we've seen with our senior daddies, it's as if they're like a new soul again. You know, even if the body was old, you could see, and people used to comment that they would see Brahma Baba, and it was as if they're seeing Sri Krishna. It was like he was beginning in his first birth all over again. The soul had become new, refreshed, resurrected, back to that original stage once again. So Baba's talking about this new, because it's the new year, the new millennium. So he's bringing across those concepts of newness and then speaking about the subconsciousness. So we'll just read a section of them all. So this is 31st December, 1999.
Elevated living soul state. That is what you.
From check everything. From check everything.
Om Shanti, good morning. This is the 31st December, 1999. Bap Dada says, check everything you do throughout the day from Amrit Vela. Is your vision alokik? A-L-O-K-I-K. I'm sure you are now used to word alokik and alokik. You know, alokik is spiritual. Is the pose of your face constantly cheerful? Is it constantly stable, or does it change from time to time? Is your awareness and attitude only alokik when you are sitting in yoga and when you are doing special service? Or does your face and behavior stay special even whilst you are carrying on with your ordinary work? Does everyone who sees you consider you to be alokik, even when you are very busy at work or in any situation of upheaval? Therefore, check whether your way of speaking and acting are alokik. Check whether even whilst you are doing anything ordinary, it can be seen from your face that you are loving and detached. Do souls who suddenly appear in front of you at any time experience you to be alokik angels from your vibrations, your way of speaking, and doing everything? Today is the day of the confluence. The old is going and the new is coming. So it was end of December 1999. And then we were stepping into 1st January 2000 millennium. So that's why Baba said, today is the day of the confluence. The old is going and the new is coming. So what newness should you reveal to the world? It is a different matter to remember or understand this internally. But think about the time of establishment. How much time for establishment has already passed? According to the amount of time already passed, there is very little time remaining. So this is the Muli of 1999. So it is 23 years ago, 24. So we have, so for us, according to the amount of time already passed, there is very little time remaining. Therefore, what should be experienced? Bap Dada knows that there are many very good effort makers who are making effort and are flying. However, in this 21st century, Baba wants to see something new. All of you are good. You are all special and great. However, the basis of the Father's revelation is the revelation of your angelic behavior and way of doing everything whilst carrying out your ordinary work. Bap Dada doesn't want to hear that the situation was like that the work was like that the circumstances and problems were like that, and that was why you behaved ordinarily. To have an angelic form means you should be an embodiment of your awareness. Baba says to have an angelic form means you should be an embodiment of your awareness. You know, this first time I really noted embodiment of your awareness, that your awareness should be revealed in your physical form. It shouldn't just be as far as your level of understanding or your awareness, but it should be your form. There should be such transformation that at any time and in any circumstance, only your alokik form should be visible. Is it like this, or does it change sometimes? You must not allow the situation to change your form. Why should the situation change you? You have to change the situation. Should words change you, or should you change your words? What would be called transformation? What would you call a sample of a practical life? Even ordinary people are able to adjust their features according to the time and circumstances. However, an angel means one who is beyond any of the past and ordinary way of behaving. So, Baba says an angel means one who is beyond any of the past and ordinary way of behaving. You know the avyakta signals also is asking us to change our nature and sanskars, and giving example of Brahma Baba in front of us. So this is what Baba says, that he became angel, and we also need to have this stage. Your topic now is the call of time. Therefore, from now on, time is calling for you special great souls to be seen as angels. This means only your alokik form should be visible from now. Is this possible? Teachers, speak. Is this possible? When will this happen? It is very good if this is possible. When will it happen? So Baba asked first, teacher speak, is this possible? When will this happen? And then Baba expressed his feelings, his hopes towards the teachers, that all of us, it is very good if this is possible. Then Baba asked, Baba asked the question again, when will it happen? Do you want one more year? Will it happen at the end of the year 2000? Do you want one more year or not? Those of you who think that you need more time, if not 1 year, then 6 months or 3 months, raise your hands. You are not raising your hands for this. What is your slogan? Do you remember it? So do you remember? You must have raised your hands in your mind. So do you remember what you raised just now? Baba is in front of us and asking. So we don't have to tell, but I mean, checking is Baba started with checking. Do you remember it? If not now, then never. So the slogan Baba said, our slogan is, if not now, then never. Ab nahi, to kab nahi. Whose slogan is this? Does this slogan belong to the Brahmins or the deities? It is for you, Brahmins, is it not? So, in this new century, Bap Dada wants to see that no matter what happens, you must not discard your alokik way of behaving. For this, you simply have to pay attention to 4 things. What are they? They are not anything new. They are old things. Baba is simply revising them for you. 1, a well-wisher has positive thoughts for others. Shubh Chintak. So it is SHUBH CHINTAK. So that means well-wisher who has positive thoughts. And second one with positive thoughts, that was TAK, Chintak, and this is Chintan. So Shubh, SHUBH is well-wisher. And then positive thoughts, it's CHINTAK. And in this one is one with positive thoughts for the self. So what we call churning, but here Shubh Chintan means you churn, Chintan, CHINTAN for the self. So positive thoughts for the self. So you are well-wisher of yourself. Third, one who constantly has pure feelings. Not that you would change if the other person changes. You must have pure feelings for others and also for yourself. So no changing of the moods or feelings, not being influenced by other people's feelings or words or anger, whatever. Just staying stable, that's what Baba means. You must have pure feelings for others and also for yourself. And the fourth is a pure and elevated awareness and form. Simply remember this one word, Shubh, SHUBH. Also means pure and auspicious. So, 4 things, all 4 things are included in this word, just one word, Shubh. You simply have to keep the word Shubh in your awareness. And Baba explained the meaning. It means pure and auspicious. You have heard it many times. You also speak about it to others many times. Now pay more attention to being the form of this. Bap Dada knows that you are the ones who have to become this. Everyone who comes will see all of you in this physical form. Today is the last day of the year. Therefore, Bap Dada looked at the chart for the year of the majority of you children. What did Bap Dada see? Bap Dada saw one main thing. Bap Dada saw that you lack the powers to erase and to merge.
Okay, I'll just say something there. So, brothers and sisters, you will remember that the morally that we heard a couple of Sundays ago was on not taking in negativity in the negative form and storing it inside of ourselves. So Baba was saying that develop your mind and intellect, develop your head and your heart, so that they are like very positive machines. And so even when someone is behaving in a very negative way with you, or the situation is negative, you're transforming it and then taking it inside of yourself. So it's like an art that we've got to learn. It's a skill that we've got to learn. And in this morally, Baba is outlining to us that you've got to consciously become well-wishers for others, positive thoughts for others, positive thoughts for the self. So what that's doing is you're then like healing your own subconsciousness as well, through that positivity, through that spirituality. And you're also not taking in that negativity in the same way. It almost becomes like a filter, some sort of like a buffer, some sort of insulation that's helping you, that positivity that you're generating. It's like a buffer zone, an insulation from the negativity coming into your subconscious mind and then bothering you again and again afterwards. And so then the next question that arises, what about the negativity we've already taken? It's already stored inside of our subconscious mind. So we're going to hear from Baba, his advice on that.
Bap Dada saw one main thing. Bap Dada saw that you lack the powers to erase and to merge. You do erase everything. You do erase anything wrong that you have seen, heard, and thought, and anything of the past. Baba says, however, you speak of this as one being the conscious and the other being the subconscious. You do erase it, but whether you call it the plate of the mind, the slate of the mind, or the paper. So today Baba called the mind a plate, a slate, or paper. Sometimes we say screen, you know. You don't erase everything completely.
What's interesting is that Baba is using the English words, conscious and subconscious. So he is talking to us about how we tend to erase something from our conscious mind. But then when Baba checks we've still got it stored in our subconscious mind.
So Baba said, why us, you do erase it, but whether you call it the plate of the mind, the slate of the mind, or the paper, you don't erase everything completely. Why aren't you able to erase it totally? The reason is that your power to merge is not powerful enough. You are able to merge everything according to the time, but then something would emerge again at another time. Therefore, you are unable to keep yourself busy in the 4 words that Bap Dada told you about. Remember what the 4 words?
No, revising.
Shubh, wasn't it? Shubh, S-H-U-B-H, Baba said pure and auspicious.
Shubh was the first one.
No, but one word Baba said, if you remember, Shubh, means it, then Shubh Chintak, Shubh Chintan. What is it?
Shubh Bhavna.
Shubh Chintak, Shubh Chintak.
You want to revise it again?
Yeah, I can. So one was Shubh Chintak, means positive thoughts for others. Then Shubh Chintan means turning for the self, is positive thoughts for the self. Third was constantly has pure feelings. One who has pure feelings, not that you would change if the other person changes. You must have pure feelings for others and also for yourself. That was the third one. And then fourth, a pure and elevated awareness and form. Simply remember this one word, Shubh, S-H-U-B-H, also means pure and auspicious.
So in Hindi, the other 2 words, they're not there, are they, in this copy? Yeah. So Shubh Chintak, Shubh Chintan, Shubh Bhavna, or Shubh Smriti or Swarup. Shubh Bhavna, Shubh Kamna. So this word Shubh means pure, positive, auspicious. And then Baba is saying, thinking about others, thinking about self, your feelings, and then also your awareness and your form. All of it should be positive, should all align.
So Baba has given us a shortcut, easy method. You simply have to keep the word Shubh in your awareness. Because Baba said, Baba understands we don't have much time. Remember, Baba reminded us full of time, and so that's why.
So Baba is saying that the thing about the chit is that you put something into that chit, it just keeps coming back, like temporarily you suppress it, and then it comes back at another time. And then it overwhelms the mind and intellect. So you're just walking down the road, you are remembering Baba, you see something, it just triggers a memory. That memory, then you end up then next 10 minutes just churning that memory. You forgot Baba, you forgot your morally points, you forgot your awareness. So this is what Baba is observing, that we are good at clearing out our conscious mind, but we haven't got that real power of yoga to be able to completely merge, so totally eliminate it even from our subconscious mind. So that capacity building of the soul, where we're able to have all the 8 powers at 100% level, so that a memory is just like thrown into the ocean. We haven't got that capacity yet.
Also, third day's home message. Baba said, we say, Baba, we want to give Sakash, but Baba pointed out.
Well, what it was that I think most Brahmins, they do have yoga for the world, and all Brahmins care about all the souls of the world. So Shashiben was saying to Baba that many Brahmins do set aside time, especially to have yoga for the world regularly. And Baba was just not persuaded by us. And he said that he wants to bring a new form of light into the world. So there's got to be some real powerful levels of service through the mind. But we'll take that up another time. But you're quite right. Because I was thinking about the difference between sunlight, moonlight, and starlight.
Yeah.
And in Bhakti, you'll find that there's worship of all these three different types of light as well. There are some traditions that they worship stars.
I listened to it, but what I understood, I listened to it twice also. But what Baba was saying to us that we are not able to reveal Baba or because people are wanting to, but our mind is not totally clean.
Yes.
We are not transparent,
That level
not
of
even what Baba calls Vedag Hira.
Yeah.
And but so there is a flow. We are, Baba calls us diamonds, but if there's a flow in the diamond, we're not transparent, others can't get puzzled when they see a flow.
Like Baba is saying in this morally, that he wants people to just see us and feel that spirituality. And this is what Baba was saying on Thursday. So here Baba is explaining the level of the cleansing, that sometimes as Brahmins, we can clear out our conscious mind, we can put a full stop. But Baba is saying that's not enough. You got to go even deeper than that. You got to completely eliminate it from the
Sunday's good was about transparency and cleanliness and our bhagats.
So Baba's now moving on. So if we go to that point about going back
so
to
now we go into this. You're able to merge everything according to the time, but then something would emerge again at another time. Therefore, you are unable to keep yourself busy in the 4 words that Baba Dada told you about. If the plate, slate, or the paper of the mind is not completely wiped clean, then because it is not completely clean, would anything you try to write be better? Would it be clear? For example, if you tried to imbibe all the virtues and powers, would this be constant and to the full percentage? You can only use these powers easily when everything is completely clean and clear. Even when on the paper, if we erase with the eraser, still you can see the mark, or we used to use that, clean something. Those tube, those white Tipex. But still you can see, you can tell. So Baba is questioning us, asking us that even if virtues or powers, would this be constant and to the full percentage? You can only use these powers easily when everything is completely clean and clear. The reason why you can't is that the slate of the majority of you is not clean and clear. Even a few things and behavior of the past, a few wasteful situations and wasteful behavior would still be merged within you in a subtle way. Then they will emerge into your physical form at certain times. Therefore, according to the time, first of all, check yourself. You have to check yourself. You do not have to engage yourself in checking others. It's very easy to check others, but it is very difficult to check yourself. Therefore, check that the slate of your mind is completely clean and clear of anything wasteful and anything of the past. The most subtle form that any of this would take would stay in your vibrations. An angel means one who is completely clean and clear, with the power to merge, transform anything negative into positive and merge it. Do not merge the negative. So remember, Baba gave us the advice and the method with the power to merge, transform anything negative into positive. So first transform it and merge it. Do not merge the negative. Transform the negative into something positive and merge it. Then there will be newness in the new century. Should Baba tell you what else he saw? Should Baba tell you, or is this dose already enough? Are you ready for another dose?
No, it's enough for today. No. Yeah. We'll stop today.
Okay.
But we can certainly revisit that another day.
Yeah. And Baba has rhymed the Hindi word mar and pyar. Pyar means love, and beating is mar.
We won't go into that now.
That's lovely. Yeah. Okay.
So you see, you can often feel from people, can't you, that they're saying they got good wishes for you, but they're also holding on to your mistakes in their heart. And we can all be guilty of doing that as well. So this is what Baba is saying to us, that you've got to become really deeply genuine. It's got to be really authentic. There cannot be an alloy left. And it's been so many thousands of years that we've had an alloy in our personality, in our consciousness, that it can be hard to imagine not having an alloy. Never holding anything of the past, never having any traumas, never having any sorrow, not having any level of waste. And Baba is saying that some people can be very controlled, so nothing comes out in their words, in their behavior. But even if you're holding something in and not expressing it, it will be in your vibration. And Daddy Janki used to always say that an angel is really communicating through their eyes. So everything can be seen through the eye. With this vibration that look in the eyes, that will reveal the attitudes that we're holding onto. And those attitudes are often informed by the Chit, by these past experiences that we've stored. And linking it with karmic accounts. You see, you'll find that where you've got a karmic account with someone, they will trigger your Chit more. So where it's someone you haven't got karmic accounts with, you're not that bothered. So you can go to a certain situation and you feel easy, light, positive. And then you come with another person and you've got karmic accounts with them, and your positivity is much more difficult. And it's because that karma is driving your Chit more. So there's this interesting dynamic between how the Chit and the karmic account then deactivate the intellect. So they reburies the intellect. So the intellect is just getting lost, and we know what we should be doing, and we just can't stay conscious to the positivity. And we become very subconscious, and we just begin to interact with that soul based on that subconsciousness. And they are probably totally subconscious anyway. They're probably not awake at all. And then we go to sleep as well. So Baba is now teaching us how to change our karmic situation, because if we carry on being driven by the subconsciousness, we will never clear our account. But what Baba wants us to do is to consciously work against the subconscious. So don't support the subconscious thoughts and feelings, but you generate positive thoughts based on knowledge. And Baba was giving an example of this today, that often physical illness makes us subconscious. So when the body's not well, there's pain, there's ailments, you find that you become more emotional more quickly. And that vulnerability of the body triggers your emotional vulnerability. And so Baba was saying that don't support those thoughts. Stay in a powerful stage of yoga. And your own mind will then be able to stay positive, happy, blissful. And Brahma Baba was saying that's his experience. That he doesn't let the physical ailments determine his inner emotional state. And he is expecting us to use the power of yoga to do that as well. So you'll find with certain people during physical ailments, and then there'll be certain situations which particularly trigger your subconsciousness, where you're feeling a little bit more vulnerable, you're feeling a little bit more surprised, you're feeling some sort of level of foreboding. So that's where the subconsciousness gets triggered more. And then the fourth point that Baba is bringing out is how our subconsciousness creates procrastination. So we can have these sanskars of putting things off till later, and our subconsciousness will deceive us. So Baba is saying your slogan as Brahmins is now or never. So both Mama and Baba were very, very intensive in conquering procrastination. With Brahma Baba, it had to be done now. You have to change now. It has to be done now. And it couldn't be done even later. So he had this mentality that you've had this thought to do something positive, has to be done now. Don't let the sun set on your positive thought. Do it today. So he's engendering this because it's a subconscious drive towards putting things off, procrastinating. So would anyone like to come in with some reflections?
Shanti, I was just thinking about the 8 powers. When Ranjan Baba was reading just now, Baba says, convert it to a positive before putting it inside the chit. And I think it was like 3 Sundays ago, there was a Murali on exactly this point. So I guess it's the 8 powers which come in and literally protect the chit by converting that. And so if we don't use those 8 powers, automatically we're allowing the negativity of the situation to seep straight in, and we sponge it up. The chit sponges it up. So it's just thinking about the 8 powers being almost like the guards to the chit. Shanti.
Yeah, I think nicely put, exactly right. So the way that I see it is that the mind is a two-way screen. So the mind is outward facing into the outside world. It's connected with the sense organs. So the information from the outside world comes through the sense organs, through the brain into the mind, and comes into the inner world. And then the mind is also seeing the inner world. So it's like we've got these two worlds or two universes, and the mind is like this two-way screen. And in body consciousness, as ordinary human beings, we have no gates, no filter. Like things are just coming in, things are just going out. It's just that. And so Baba is now saying to us, you've got to become masters again. You've got to get a grip again. Now, people will also have a level of control, professionalism, like there'll be a societal sort of codes of behavior, but you can't control people's thoughts and feelings. Of course, they might be thinking all sorts and feeling all sorts. So we have a society where we just focus on coping, and we might use cigarettes, alcohol, this, that, and many other things just to cope, because actually we're just controlling, we're just sort of suppressing things and keeping ourselves controlled according to what our roles and our societies, communities expect from us. But Baba's saying that won't cut it for an angel. If you think now where you got to go, it won't, it's not enough. You can't just suppress everything on your inside, outside appear like an angel, and then say, I'm an angel. That just doesn't cut it. So to be an angel, you're going to need to clean yourself completely. All the alloy has to be removed. And we've got examples. We've seen the senior daddies reach that sort of stage. And we can feel the spirituality and the divinity of that. But as we're getting, okay, it's going to take us some time to remove all that alloy. Baba's saying, don't add anymore. You got to at least begin that process of reducing how much you're taking in. So that daily Amrit Vela is where we're going to accumulate the 8 powers. And powers like the power to pack up, the power to withdraw, the power to tolerate, the power to face, they're all about not letting things in. And then Baba's saying to us, and also you could probably put discernment and judgment in that as well, because they can often be reasons why we take things in. But then Baba's saying the power to merge, and that word in Hindi, samanaki shakti, it can also mean to accommodate, it can also mean to adjust. So those 3 powers, merging, adjusting, accommodating, they are necessary once you've let something in. So once something is in, then you're going to need to get rid of it. And say a Lokic technique in the world might be someone's got anger issues, so they join a boxing gym and they might punch the bag and get their anger out. So that can be one of the therapeutic methods used in the body conscious world. But Baba's saying, of course, for you, it's got to be more yogi. It's got to be something, you don't want to just vomit something out, but then actually the anger still, they just sort of, it's not really dealing with the illness. So for you, it's got to be this power to merge as if it just doesn't exist anymore. And so you're right, it's the guards, but then there's also the things that are already inside. And for most of our subconsciousness, we're not even aware of it. We can only become conscious of things that have happened in this life, and even then, maybe not. So the many past lives, we're never really going to be conscious of it, are we? But we have to be aware that it still might be driving my attitudes. might be driving. And this is my point about karmic accounts, that sometimes you just, so the judgment I make, or the measure I use is, if I'm reacting disproportionately, it's probably a karmic account. So someone says something, and then suddenly, I don't know, this reaction has gone on inside of me. And it's like, if you're looking rationally, objectively, it's nothing. But my feelings are so much bigger than actually it should be. And that's a karmic account. So I actually need the power of yoga to clear. If I then interact out of that karmic account, I grow that karma. I don't finish it. So this is what Baba's saying to us, that it's got to become part of your form, that you need this power to merge. Because if this reaction comes back into your form and you begin using it, actually then that person will react back at you, and you'll take that back into your subconsciousness. So you become even heavier. And then your conscience will bite you because you're a BK. And so you'll say, oh, I really shouldn't have used that. And that's one of the vices, I shouldn't have used that. And so you'll feel even more guilty. So you add even more into your subconsciousness. So what Baba's observing is we can get ourselves into these cycles of removing things from our subconsciousness and adding it back into our subconscious. And then we end up actually not going anywhere. We're just sort of taking some things out and putting some things in. So we just end up at the same spot as we were before. And so Baba's saying you're going to need all of these 8 powers. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
I'd like to say, I don't know if anyone else wants to.
No, you finish off. Fine.
Judy Ben said that she'd like to know Baba more, and so this Murli, I watched it in YouTube a few months ago, and it's lovely. But those who, you can watch it, for all of us. But Judy Ben, if you can, this Murli, when Baba used to go for a walk, and she wants to, so before, if you want to experience, Baba used to actually wanted to, and Dadiji also, that every child should see Baba, and Dadiji had this so much. So Baba used to go around. So if you watch this video, you'll get the flavor, and then listen and just concentrate on Baba. Just it's me and Baba, my friend, and observe how Baba speaks smoothly, and how you will try and understand what, because sometimes slowly the God is at this time here in Conference Age in front. So if you can make the most to observe Baba, how he speaks, how he's, so just whatever you can. But after Baba's taking Baba's drishti, before Baba used to give drishti for 20 minutes or so, and then get up and go and give blessings. Now he gives from the stage, but before Daddy used to take him around, but then the crowd got bigger and bigger, and some got up and get excited and started touching, and you'll see, and then security issue and all that. So if you can, but watch that, and what we read, you will enjoy it and understand more. And then this evening, this Shuk Chintak, I think Baba continued the theme of this Shuk Chintak after 3 weeks, because tonight in Global House, we're going to watch Avyakt every Saturday. We listen to Murli, Avyakt Murli, and it is 25th January 2001. And it is about this continuation of, Shuk Chintan, Shuk Chintak, well-wishing. And Baba's in that also said, don't find excuses or reasons, but find solutions. So I think it's 3 weeks after Baba gave us again.
I think that's right.
Slowly.
Solution focused is also about the Chit. you know, that we're transforming our mind and intellect. It's a good point.
Yeah.
And just to finish with Sujata, Ben, thanks for your question in the chat. The Murlis we're hearing Monday to Saturday are from the 1960s. So in those days, Shiv Baba would say that the only body I'm coming into is Brahma. And then after Brahma Baba became an angel, just in the first few days, Shiv Baba said that he'll come into that it goes up. So that's how that works. Okay,
Shanti,
well,
where do I find a video?
yeah, we'll try and get a link for you and then send that across. Yeah, we'll try and locate that.
Thank you, Om Shanti. Thank you, Ranjan.
Okay, everyone. Well, it was another rich discussion. So thank you all for taking the time to be with us live. And also warm greetings to those of you tuning in later through YouTube. Have a great week, everyone. Om Shanti. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.